Hello everyone, and welcome to the first episode of Morietur's Hidden Gems, a series where I spotlight anything that I think deserves more recognition than it has, whether it be movies, video games, or anything else I think holds value. And to start, I want to talk about my favorite movie of all time, Bubba Ho-Tep. Anyone who's seen this movie already knows how much of a weird film it is. Not just because of its plot and writing, but also its editing and performances. But we'll get to that later. The story isn't actually that odd once you consider that the movie is actually an adaptation of a 1994 novella of the same name. I haven't read it myself, but from what I can gather, the plots of the movie and book are basically identical, but the book seems to take itself a little more seriously. And what is the plot, you may be asking? Well, basically Elvis Presley switches places with an impersonator, the impersonator dies and no one believes the original Elvis that he's the real one, and he eventually grows old and is sent to a retirement center called Shady Rest. Eventually, a mummy comes to Shady Rest and uses the place to feast on the elderly's souls, so Elvis teams up with John F. Kennedy to stop this Bubba Ho-Tep from wreaking havoc on their community. Alright, so I know this sounds like a Mad Lib, but that's honestly not why this movie is so unique. What's special about it is how all these plot points are tied together to deliver a poignant message about growing old in a life filled with regret, and the importance of honoring the time you have on this earth. However, this movie also conveys messages about how it's never too late to try and do the right thing, and that everyone's life, no matter the age or circumstance, has value.
In the movies, I always played heroic types. But when the stage lights went out, it was time for drugs and stupidity and the coveting of women. Now it's time. Time to be a little of what I'd always fantasized being. A hero.
It's a very human yet compassionate movie that's intertwined with a lot of weirdness, and it's kind of beautiful to witness it all come together. It also helps that the writing and performances are both amazing throughout, with great dialogue that fleshes out the characters.
Oh, God damn it. I'll be damned if I let some boring graffiti-writing, soul-sucking son of a bitch in an oversized cowboy hat and boots take my friends' souls and shit them down the visitor's toilet.
Everyone does a good job here. The only real nitpick I have is that there's not much of a supporting cast, and the ones that are there range from good to just okay. But that's honestly all it is, a nitpick. Elvis and JFK though, they carry this movie. Bruce Campbell is amazing in this. He really sells this movie's portrayal of Elvis, and he delivers his lines perfectly. I could listen to Elvis talk about his flaccid penis for hours, and Ozzie Davis is hilarious as JFK, but is also really sincere at the same time.
I know you're Elvis. There was a rumor, you know, that you hated me. But I thought about that. You hated me, you could have finished me off the other night. What I want from you is that you look me straight in the eye and assure me you had nothing at all to do with that day in Dallas, and that you did not know Lee Harvey Oswald or Jack Ruby.
Rest in peace, man. The humor here is more low-key, which I like for this kind of movie. I mean, it's already inherently strange, so there's no need to make it overbearing, and it is legitimately funny. I also love the music. They implement it well, always fitting the mood of the scene, and it complements the aesthetic of the movie, adding to its unique identity. Speaking of which, that brings me to the editing. It's weird, but more in a borderline intrusive way. Take this scene, for example, near the beginning of the movie. I didn't edit this. Okay, why was it like that? Was it supposed to represent how Elvis sees things now that he's old? I guess, but it's still kind of distracting. Moments like those are few and far between though, so it's not too bad. I really like the special effects though. From what I can gather, it's all practical, and these are all usually reserved for when the mummy shows up, and it's such a cool design. Just look at him. He kind of reminds me of Silver Chariot Requiem, the way he walks, his cowboy hat, and how he affects things around him. I honestly don't know much about Elvis Presley or John F. Kennedy, so I'm not sure if there's anything in this movie that could be considered offensive or how accurate it is, but coming from a general perspective, I don't think there's anything demeaning about their portrayal here. It's a bizarre scenario to be sure, but I think they play it off as respectfully as possible while also having fun with this idea.
Hello?
Mr. Kennedy, ask not what your rest home can do for you. Ask what you can do for your rest home.
Hey, you're copying my best lines.
And let me paraphrase one of my own. Let's take care of business.
Just what are you getting at, Elvis?
I think you know what I'm getting at, Mr. President. We're gonna kill us a mummy.
That's another thing. While this movie is very emotional and profound, it's also just a fun time. Elvis and John's friendship is super wholesome and entertaining. The story is interesting and really well executed. This movie just has so much good in it and has such a great message that I can't help but love it. I recommend this film to literally everyone because this movie deserves it, and I doubt there's going to be another movie like this anytime soon. There was a sequel that was being planned out, not just a sequel, but an entire franchise based around Elvis and his adventures with monsters, but after nearly 20 years of being in development hell, I seriously doubt that'll ever come to fruition, and that makes me really sad. There were some comic books about Elvis from the Bubba Ho-Tep universe though, including one where he teams up with the one and only Ash Williams from Evil Dead. I haven't read them yet, but I will eventually. Who knows? Maybe this series holds another hidden gem.